Hi everyone, it's Kay from the Paper Shed. Thanks for coming back and joining me today. I'm back with the letter H and I'm going to do hidden. So, yes, hidden is anything that you have to look for when you are looking through a journal. So it can be whatever you want it to be, really. It can be a writing space, it can be a little gift, it can be anything. So we're on day 9. And our prompts for today to give you inspiration is hardware, hinged, haberdashery, and hidden. So I'm going to get on with it. So today I'm hoping that I can. I saw something on, and I do follow her. She's lovely actually. She does lots and lots of little sort of short reels. The vintage journal, and she did these absolutely wonderful um, tea bag holders. So they come with its own little tea bag string, and inside is a lovely little hidden tea bag on either side. Now you can write in these, so it's sort of writing space as well. But I thought that you could use them for tags, and like a little gift tag that you could hang off of a gift bag or anything, or you could just give them as a standalone little gift, which I think is fabulous. And it comes with its own little string and little thing like a Dunkin' tea bag. And I love tea. Tea is one of my favourites. I drink copious amounts of tea every single day. I'm more of a tea belly. I do like coffee, but I'm more of a tea belly than I am a coffee person. So I've sort of practiced doing these and done. I've tried to do them in different ways so that I don't have to give you or keep giving you measurements of any sort. I am going to give you measurements because although it's easy enough to do without the measurements if you've got an A4 sheet of paper, um, there's complications with it, so to speak. So I've got a little template here. This is what we're going to be looking for. Let's just open that up. This is the shape that you're going to be looking for when you come to do it. All of my measurements are on the back, but I will talk you through it as I go through. So I've used here about, I would say, I think this is about 160 paper. And this is meant to be a binding cover. So it comes up quite thick, really, for the weight of paper. See, it says on the sheet that it's only 150 GSM, but I've got, this is 160 paper that I put through my printer, and this feels way thicker than this. So I don't know. But I probably wouldn't use anything less than 160 on these, purely because I have done some in just copy of paper and it's okay. I mean, if it was just for a little gift tag, you could probably get away with it. If it was for, a standalone gift, then you want something a little more sturdy. And I think, 180, between 160 and 180 would be fine for, a standalone gift. If you're just doing it as a tag, you could probably get away with for anything from 120 to 160, 180. That's what I would use anyway. So let's go. Let's go. I love these little things. I use, this was actually just a print, but it actually looks like a tea bag folded in half. These ones I just created myself, these little tab things. Here I've just literally used a label and cut the corners to look like a tab and then folded it in half around it. I will link the vintage journal link to hers because she does do an amazing job. She posted a little tutorial the other day and I thought, oh, that's great. I love it, which I do love it. This one was just a little tag which I cut the other ends off. And then this one was the same. This just a label that I folded in half. So you can more or less use anything. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a sheet of A4 paper. You're going to need some fussy cuts for the front, a little bit of decoration like ribbon or lace or twine or whatever it is you want to use, a little bit of ribbon for the top. You're going to need a brad and a couple of eyelets. And obviously your normal ink, glue and an eyelet setter. So let's get going. So what we need to do first, this is an A4 sheet. Now I think I've had to cut around it. Yeah, so I've had to cut around because it came with the white border. And this is what I have problems with when I give people, measurements. Because my paper isn't a full size, I know it's only a small amount, but in some projects that can make a lot of difference. So when you have a white border that you have to cut off, obviously you don't have an A4 sheet any longer. It's slightly smaller and can affect your project in big ways unless you accommodate for it. Now I have done it with a full sheet. This happened to be a full sheet of just patterned copy paper, just that I had some left from Mandy's kit. I think this is Mandy's kit. This one was the same. Now, the difference when it's folded isn't that great. It's a smidge all the way around. And as long as your tea bags, because this size doesn't change, as long as your tea bag fits into that space there, you're fine. But let's go over the measurements, shall we? I'll pop those there. So I cut my paper down. When the lady from the Vintage Journal does it, she cuts hers down because she's American. She cuts hers down to 11, but leaves the 8.5. Now, obviously, we don't have 8.5. Ours are 8.25 because it's A4. So if you're American, then just cut your paper down to 11. If you're in the UK or in Europe and you use A4 sheets, then cut it down to 11, but keep your 8.25 because it really doesn't make that much difference. And I have done it with the full sheet, just took the white border off and then left it. So it is possible to do it either way you choose to do it. So what I like to do first is I like to get a mark where my middle is, because you're going to need to crease that anyway. And it just saves you having to find the middle of your paper. Okay? I'm going to do it on my small scoreboard just because it's easier for you to see on screen. Now, when I put it on my board, it's actually right on a notch instead of a groove. So I'm just going to move it just across to the nearest notch, make sure I've got it level, and then I'm just going to score it there. Then I'm going to go half inch past that one and half inch in front of that one. So you should now have 3 lines and the 2 gaps are half inch each. Then I'm going to turn it around to the shorter side at the top, and then I'm going to score it at 2 3/4 this way. Turn it around and do the same on the other side. Okay, and that's all you need your scoreboard for. So it's 2 3/4 on your long sides, and then it's your 3 lines on your shorter side. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it on the middle score line so that your paper's completely in half. And my paper's slightly off. Don't know why. I'm just going to straighten it as best I can and score that line in. All right, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm just going to squeeze my half mark at the top there. I'm going to get a pencil and I'm going to put a little dot at the top there, here. You just need a little mark, turn it over, Do the same on the other side, right at the top of your squeezed mark. And then I'm going to leave it like that. I'm going to get my ruler. You can do this on a cutting board. And I'm going to get my ruler right in the corner of my creased line, my halfway mark line. And then I'm going to get the other part of my ruler right in the middle of that dot. And then I'm going to get a craft knife. Make sure that you've got it as level as possible. And then I'm just going to cut that off. Okay. And then just to show you on a cutter, that you can do it on a cutter, I'll do the other side on the cutter. So what I'm going to do is pop it into my cutter, line it up with your score line on your fold, and then line the other part up with your dot that you've created. Okay, and then just cut it out. Then what you want to do is this point here on your triangle piece, you just want to cut about 1 inch off of that. So line it up with one of your marks. I think I want it to come in a little bit further. That's about 1 inch, I think. It's slightly over, so I'm just going to nudge it back a little bit. Keep it straight and cut that inch off there. Okay. And then you've got your sheet pattern here. All right. So then what we're going to do is we're just going to fold it together. So you fold in the long lines first, and then you crease down there. You fold in this one. Now, because this piece had a white border and it was cut off, it throws the measurement out slightly. So I get a little crease here, but it doesn't affect anything. Okay, so you just have to work with it. Fold it in the middle and line it up with your other half there, and just burnish that lining. Okay, then you're going to open it up again and fold it backwards, because that line there, your middle score line of your 3, needs to be up. Okay, then all you do is you fold in this piece upwards and this piece upwards. And what it throws out, I've noticed, is that I get a little bit of extra length on this one here. So it obviously doesn't come in the same amount as this side. So it's slightly off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a full piece of A4 sheet and show you what that is. Just so that you have the option. If you have an A4 sheet, use an A4 sheet. If you don't have an A4 sheet, then and you have to cut the white borders off, it's still possible to do. It is just slightly off, because you need the full 8 1/4. If you've got 8 1/2, which is in the American size papers, then obviously you've got more than enough. But because you have to cut out the white border from around your 8 1/4, you don't have 8 1/4 on this length here, which is what throws this off. But I mean, they look fine, you know. I mean, that one's been thrown off. So we're going to do it again on a full size A4 sheet of black card. Okay, I'm still going to do the same. I'm still going to fold it in half to find my halfway mark. Okay, I'm going to get my scoreboard, pop it on my scoreboard. Now see, I'm in a groove here because it's a full A4 sheet. I'm not missing any from around the edge. Okay, then I'm going to do 1/2 inch, which is 4 notches. 1, 2, 3, 4. To come one side of that middle score line, and then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not giving you the measurements purely because they're odd measurements. So like for instance, my middle mark is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5 and 7/8. So what I'll do is, instead of giving you all the odd measurements for the full A4 sheet, we'll just go through the motions of making it, and then I'll cut a sheet down to 11 and we'll give you the full score lines and measurements for that one. It'll just be easier. And then you have a choice of whatever it is that you're going to use. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn it around. We're going to keep our mark down here at 2 3/4. So we're just going to score all the way down there. Turn it around and do the same on the other side. Okay, all the way down. And then I'm still going to do my half crease. Yeah, I'm still going to do my half crease in the middle. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is, because this one is a full 8 1/4, I'm just going to mark my dots this time. Instead of creasing it because it's card, I'm going to mark my dots at 4 1/8. If I do it at the top there, 4 1/8. Yeah. Okay, turn it over. Do the same on that side, 4 1/8. And they should marry up. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to cut it now on my board instead of cutting it with the knife. I find it easier to do both of them, but I don't know whether this is what's throwing me off. Okay. Okay. And then we just want to cut that inch off of the top there. Just want to line it up. And it's about an inch. So now we've got our tea bag shape. Just score in your bottom lines and then score this one in. So score this side and score this side. So that this makes it more level. Fold in half and then bring that side up and that side up. And that's more or less level now. Okay, so now you've got one. See, this is the difference in size from what we've cut our white line around. So there is quite a bit of difference all the way around, as you can tell. Okay, this is more a bigger, much bigger size in respects to of cutting the white lines off. So what we'll do now is I'll do you a full sheet on this cream card, but I'm going to cut it down to 11. Okay, just going to cut that off at 11 and then give you some measurements. Okay, so we're cutting that bit off, whichever paper, whether you're using US paper or whether you're using A4 paper. So we're going to cut it off at 11, but we're going to keep our full width. So we're going to keep our full 8 1/4 width. Okay. And we're going to do exactly the same again. So long side along the top, and you want to score at 5, 5.5 and 6. So 5.5 would be our middle of our 11 sheet, and then you want to go half on that side, half on this side. Okay, same again on here, same measurements, 2 3/4 inch all the way down over this side, 2 3/4 inch all the way down. Okay, then we're going to find our middle point, and you can either fold it in half or do it singularly, which is 4 1/8. Turn it over, 4 1/8. Okay, fold it in the middle. I just find it easier to fold it in the middle to cut it, because it's easier to do it on my smaller cutting board. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up my middle folded edge on this end, and then I'm going to pull that out till I reach my mark here. Okay, and do the same on this side. So line that one up and line that one up and cut that, and then I'm going to cut my inch off the top. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to just bend those into shape there. Then I'm going to bring this one across on my score line. Bring this one across on my score line. Fold that one up like so. So this is your A4 sheet. This is the one that's cut down, and that's the difference. You just get a higher tag. Okay, so your width is the same. Everything else is exactly the same. You just get a slightly higher tab if you leave your paper at full A4 size. That's the only difference. So these are the measurements. So you start off with an 11 by 8 1/4. You score at 5, 5.5 and 6 with your long side along the top of your scoreboard. And then you score at 2 3/4 on either side of your short end at the top of your scoreboard. And then you mark either end in the middle, which is 4 1/8. That's the only odd measurement. So I'll leave that there just for a sec in case you want to take a screenshot. Okay. And that's it. That's how you create your little tea bag tag, gift tag, with your hidden tea bags. I love them. I think they're absolutely fabulous. And then what we do, so on to the next bit. Now, at this point, you can decorate. You can, add pieces of card. You could add material. You could add, for the backing. You could add whatever you want to. And then fussy cuts, and then whatever trimmings that you want. But then we have to add the eyelets. So I use the smaller one for this. So we're going to just eyeball that. We're going to get a couple of eyelets. And we need some string as well. So I've got this really thin sort of embroidery thread, cotton thread. It's quite thin and it's a bit like tea bag string. So I'm using that as my tea bag thing. I'm going to pop it through one of the holes. You can also use this method as for closures. Pop it through a hole, stick your eyelet in, and then squeeze that together. That then holds your string in place fairly tightly. Okay. Now the vintage journal, she puts 2 eyelets in. I was only actually putting 1 in. She must have been getting questions because she did a little video on how to do that. I think it was yesterday. And then you need a little brad. What colour shall we do this one? We'll do a blue one. So I'm just going to get a little blue brad. You can use anything, any brad, any colour, doesn't matter. I'm just using the coloured ones because I never use them. And then she pops it into the eyelet and she just brings it out. Now she leaves a little gap. I'll bring it up. She leaves a tiny gap between the eyelet and the brad so that obviously your string's got something to tie around. Now, obviously if you push down hard, that's going to close that up. So you just want to get that as tight as possible. And then I would just cover that up with some washi or, well, whatever you want to cover it up with, really. You could put a circle on there if you wanted to. I'm going to put some washi over it. Now you can use any papers that you want for this. You can use card and decorate the whole thing. Or you can use double-sided papers, would be a good option. You can use single-sided papers, and if you wanted anything, you could either line it, back it with something, tea dye paper or whatever you want to line it with, or you could stencil it or leave it blank. It's entirely up to you. I need my scissors and I don't know where I'm at. There they are. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that off there. I'm just going to put another one on over the top. I should have just used a wider one, really. And I'm just going to trim that off that side. And I've just got a little hang over there. Okay. So all you'd have to do, because you don't glue these or anything, you can if you want to. You can just put a dab of glue there just to secure it from the bottom, but there's no real need. So you could actually stencil this part here in the middle, at the top and at the bottom. That's the only bits that you will see. Okay, so now we have our stringing, our brad, all nice and secure in there. And then that just comes over and that just gets wrapped around there. So you want something for the end of your string. And I've got these 2 bits. I just created these myself. I'm just gonna stick a dab of glue. Actually, I'll just use art glitter. So I want to double in the middle and then I just want to go around the edges. And then I'm just going to stick my string into the middle there. So it comes from the top of my tag. And then I'm just going to squeeze that on. Make sure it's in the right place. Squeeze it on. Now I haven't cut these identical, so I'm just going to trim those up. Just to make it look a bit better. Oh, cutting a string. There we go. Get a bit of ink. Okay. So we've now got our little tag on the bottom there. And then you just literally decorate it however you want to. So I've got a few little bits here, butterflies and tea. I probably want to put something behind that, don't I? Okay, so I'm just going to stick a little bit of music paper around the back of there. How long I need it. I need to take that straight edge off there. Just to give it a little bit of interest. It's a bit too long, so I'll take it from that end there. Okay. And I'm just going to ink that up. Just going to get that onto there. And then I've got a bit of blue ribbon here. A little bit of polka dot ribbon, which I'm just going to stick on the bottom of there too. Yeah, so let's get that stuck down. Okay. Just stick a little bit of blue ribbon across there. We also need a little bit of blue ribbon for the tag at the top. I can't use those scissors for cutting stuff. It just doesn't cut through material. I don't know what's wrong, whether they need sharpening or... So what I'm going to do is just open this. I'm just going to stick it through there. Okay. There we have that. Oh, too cute. Too cute. And then we just got to decide which butterfly that we want. Thinking that. And then I think I might add that on. Is it better with the lighter butterfly, do you think? So, no, I like this one. Okay, so we're going to go with that. So I'll stick the butterfly down first. Stick that up as high as I can get it, so it's secure on there. Get this one. And it doesn't have to be, you know, teacups and teapots and things. It can be whatever you want it to be. To match your gift or... It needs to go across a little bit. Okay. That's pretty cool. Let's just cut this excess ribbon off. That side and that side. And then we probably just want some tea bags. So I have a jasmine tea, green tea, and I have a nice English breakfast tea. How cool is that? You can write a message on here on the inside for your gift. And there you have it. Just needs a word now, doesn't it? I think we'll stick with black and something small, be original. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this. I think I'm going to just pop it on the top here, in line with that end. There. And you can decorate them however you want. You can put buttons on, you can put all sorts of stuff on. So there we have it. Let me move the rubbish. So there's your three options. You can use the papers with the white border on. You can use a full A4 sheet, or you can cut it down to size. And I think they're just the cutest thing ever. So that is my hidden gift to you. I hope you enjoyed that. I thoroughly did. I'll be back tomorrow with another one. See you then. Thanks for watching.